Our beautiful aerial views courtesy of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company and its fleet of airships, reminding you to take all of life's journeys on the wings of Goodyear. Beautiful view from up there, beautiful day down below. Folks taking in the scene in the paddock. Toya Jackson. You know, Randy told me something that I didn't know. He told me a lot of things I didn't know, but one of them was that the blimp was overhead in 1929 when Clyde Van Dusen won the Kentucky Derby. He was a gelding, the last to win it. There are a couple of geldings running today. One of them called Buddy Gil, who spent his early days in a very unlikely setting for a Derby horse. With the story of Buddy's buddies, here's Janine.
Well, Chris, in today's Derby, we have a champion jockey back from retirement. We have a trainer who got started at Bush Tracks out west, and a group of hunting buddies who are all living their Derby dream thanks to this one overachieving 3-year-old. It was May 18th, 1929, the 55th Kentucky Derby, and the last time a gelding won the Roses. His name was Clyde Van Dusen, a son of the great man o' war. In 2003, in the 129th Kentucky Derby, Buddy Gil will try to become the first gelding in almost 3/4 of a century to wear the Roses. Buddy Gil is Kentucky bred, but his breeder and part owner, Donnie McFadden, says he's really more a part of his Billingsley Creek Ranch near Hagerman, Idaho, as is his trainer, Jeff Mullins, and his 3-time Derby-winning jockey and Idaho native, Gary Stevens.
That's wonderful. I mean, having Gary on that horse and having him trained by Jeff, it definitely is the Idaho connection.
It's a long ways, that's for sure. It's been quite a ride.
Jeff and I, 1981, I rode Jeff's first recognized winner at LeBois Park, my hometown in Boise, Idaho, and go way, way back with Donnie McFadden, at least knowing his name.
The rest of the Buddy Gil group are Southern California businessmen that are part of Scott Gunther's Desperado stables.
Well, the name actually started from the Eagles song Desperado, which is a favorite song of mine, and the Eagles are probably my favorite rock group of all time, so we decided to name the stable after the rock group and after the song.
The Desperados and Buddy Gil got together in Idaho, not at the racetrack, but while out hunting.
Actually, we were all up shooting ducks on Donnie McFadden's ranch up in Hagerman, Idaho, and Donnie has a handful of nice mares up there, and he suggested that we get together and put a partnership together and throw some horses in and have some fun with them.
The fun actually started this past February at Santa Anita, when Buddy Gil won the Grade 3 Baldwin Stakes on the turf at odds of 26-1. Next was the Grade 2 San Felipe on the main track, when he won by a nose at almost 10-1. Buddy Gil again showed his heart in his Grade 1 winning effort in the Santa Anita Derby, when he beat the West's best 3-year-olds.
I had no idea he had this type of ability. We've raised some nice horses. We've raised over 150 stakes horses over the years, but we've never raised anything that competed at this level. And once he got down to Santa Anita to Jeff's barn, and Gary started riding him, and he went to levels that we've never competed at before, so it's been very, very exciting.
Obviously, he's the best horse I've ever been associated with. He's my first Grade 1 winner. We've had a couple other nice horses, but Buddy Gil is by far the best I've been associated with.
I would expect him to move forward again off of the Santa Anita Derby. He's going to need to, but it's definitely there. The improvement is there, and all we got to do is get it out on the racetrack on Saturday.
But what about that 74-year-old Derby Jinx against geldings?
At this point, we can't do anything about it. I mean, we're here, and we're just going to have to try and do our best with what we got.
We actually think it's an advantage. In this race where you've got to have a horse that goes over there with his head on his shoulders and can handle all the activity in the paddock and the crowd and so on, I think being gelded is probably a weapon here. What a lot of people don't realize is that prior to 1929, I think there were 8 or 9 geldings that won this race. So we like to look at it that maybe it's time that another one get it done this year.
Well, Chris, Buddy Gil was named for Donnie McFadden's college buddy, Tom Gilmer. And Tom Gilmer is not here today to see his namesake run in the Kentucky Derby. He had something a little more important to take care of. Today is his daughter's wedding.
No, that's nice. That is nice. Let's talk about the gelding factor. Funny Side and Buddy Gil, the 2 geldings in here, as we mentioned, it has been 74 years. Is that just a coincidence? You buy into the fact that they have something, to overcome?
Something missing?
No, they have something missing.
From a handicapping perspective, it's absolutely irrelevant, because we've already seen past performances, we've seen them run in the prep races. We know what they're capable of doing. So the fact that they're gelding as opposed to a colt doesn't mean anything at all. You know, in the old days, the horses used to be gelded a lot more often than they are now. Nowadays, when
ask him if it's relevant, by the way.
Yeah, he thinks it's very relevant, I guarantee you. Or at least he will when he realizes he's not going to be retired to stud. But nowadays, the breeding industry is so unbelievably lucrative in America. Just an ordinary stallion can sell for $1 million. So when you get a well-bred horse, they're much less likely to geld them today than they were, say, 50 years ago.
Buddy Gil's been the king of California. You saw the stretch run in Santa Anita for a Santa Anita and San Felipe winner. 6-1 is a value price at this point.
Almost every one of his recent races, he's been a decent price.
He is gutsy. He usually hangs in there. We'll come back. Still more Derby talk and another live race on a beautiful Derby day at Churchill Downs. Well, look who's back in the paddock. It's Bobby Frankel, trainer of the day. So far, he's got a horse, Raquette, in the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic coming up. And, of course, the morning line favorite in the Derby. We're going to have the prices and continue to follow that story. Empire Maker 4-1 last time we checked. You can see the highlights at 6:30 Eastern time. That follows NBC Sports coverage. And we are done at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Post time is about 6. Of course, this is an emerging story, Randy. I mean, I cannot believe there would not be a stampede to the window if, in fact, these prices continue to hold up. It would be almost historic, wouldn't it, for a 6-5 morning line favorite to go off at something like 4-1, which is what Empire Maker was last time we checked?
Well, I think what's going to happen is, I know here at Churchill Downs and at simulcast places all around America, it's sort of difficult to find the early Derby odds until you get an hour before post time for the Derby and they go up on the Churchill Downs feed and they come up on the tote board here. I have a feeling when everyone around the country sees that Empire Maker is 4-1, they're going to pull out their wallets and a lot of people are going to invest and knock that down.
That seems to make sense because maybe they're just waiting to see the price.
Yeah,
it was 50 years ago the first nationally televised Kentucky Derby. In fact, some of the Derby preps leading up to the Derby had been televised, and Native Dancer was already a superstar. It ended up being, of course, one of the great thoroughbreds in history, but it shows you how tough it can be to win this race. Did not have his Derby day.
And the 1953 Kentucky Derby was considered the upset of the century in horse racing at that point. Native Dancer ran 22 times in his career. He won 21 of those. The only race he lost was the 53 Derby. The gray horse down on the inside. The horse in front, Dark Star, at odds of 24-1, pulled the upset. Native Dancer finished second at 2-5 odds. Incredibly, in this year's Kentucky Derby, all 16 starters are related to Native Dancer. So when we look for a Bud Long shot, which one do we take?
I don't know, but that's a pretty good segue.
I'm Bob Baffert, trainer of Indian Express, the Panamanian Youth, your Budweiser long shot. I started with like a bag of potato chips. I started with the big chips, now I'm down to the little small chips, but sometimes the saltier ones, those are the best ones. In the Santa Anita Derby, it was the first time going long. I told Tyler, just put him on the lead, just go for it. I want to see what he's made of. Turning for home, he was still there, and he kicked back in. And he just showed that tenacity that we'd never seen in the morning. And he showed me right then this is a really serious horse. What he showed me off his last works here, he looks like he's really caught up to speed, and I think he's sitting on a big effort. Tyler Bays, he's a good little rider, he's a young rider, but he rides in Southern California against the best jockey colony in the world, so he's not going to be intimidated by these other riders. Lafitte Pinkai was the one that found me this horse, and he was supposed to ride him. Unfortunately, when he got hurt, he wasn't able to ride him, but Lafitte, if he wins this Derby, this Bud Long shot is for you.
Probably his, fourth, fifth, 3-year-old at the beginning of this campaign. But, what a story that would be. Utah bred via Panama, comes back, owned by the guy who first recorded Bo Diddley and Muddy Waters. Phil Chess discovered the Rolling Stones, and ridden by a guy who had never ridden a race in this track before. That's an unbelievable story.
And Bob Baffert, who loses the 2-year-old champion Vindication last year to injury, and manages to win the Kentucky Derby anyway. And he's got a big shot. He's a good play at 9 or 10-1, because if he can get a clear early lead and the pace is war emblem-ish like last year, then he will be extremely tough to catch. If they hook him, I'm not so confident, but still, it's a good price.
But our buddy Hank is not that sentimental a guy, so let's see what he thinks of his chances. Cold, hard form, Hank. What do you think?
Well, I like his chances, too, after talking with Bob Baffert. I asked him, he's only why, with only 2 races in him this year, and in fact only 2 races in this country, would he be able to negotiate the 1 1/4 distance? And Bob said that he has really laid it into this horse in training. In fact, he's trained him so hard that he's given him the equivalent of 4 or 5 races in his training. He says he's taken everything that I've thrown at him. He's tough. He said I'm confident that he can make the distance. And I think the Santa Anita Derby showed some versatility on his part when he came back against Buddy Gil. So if he doesn't have the lead today for some reason, I wouldn't give up on him. As Bob explained, he's not like War Emblem, who once he gets the lead, he's gone. If he doesn't have the lead, he's done. He said this horse can perform in other ways.
And beginning with the draw show, Hank, Baffert was a little bit coy about the tactics, implying he might not charge for the lead. You think that'd be a good idea too, huh?
Peace Rules is also going to show some speed, so the pace battle between those two is going to be critical.
Least raced entry in the Derby with only 4 previous starts. Is that Slash? The monitor's a little dark. I think that's the former Guns N' Roses guitarist, his trademark lid here on Derby Day. And welcome back. We'll have some Derby predictions in just a second. Our Kentucky Derby special is presented by Visa. And a reminder, Game 7 of that NBA first-round series, the Blazers visiting the Mavericks. An amazing storyline as Dallas led 3-zip. Portland has roared back. And the decisive game tomorrow afternoon, 3:30 Eastern, over on ABC. Let's go to Charlene Hawks.
Chris, we have a mobster in our midst. One of the stars of the critically acclaimed The Sopranos, Michael Imperioli here. And Michael is not just your average celebrity here, just enjoying the event. You know horse racing. Don't you go down to the local OTB there in Manhattan to do a little racing?
I do. I'm there often. I follow the game. Doesn't mean I can come up with winners necessarily better than anybody, but I have a lot of fun.
You follow it. And you've done a little charity work with the NTRA?
Yeah, we're doing something with Don Imus and 660 radio to raise money for his ranch, for sick children in New Mexico.
Have you zeroed in on your pick yet? Who do you like so far?
I've been looking at 10 Most Wanted for a few weeks since this last race, since Illinois Derby, and I still think he's strong. I think he's been working out good. I like Indian Express to figure, and I'm sure Empire Maker will be up there.
Now, if you were to have a long shot, who would you pick?
Scrimshaw.
Oh, yeah? Like the Lucas horse.
Can't ever rule him out.
What do you think about the Derby experience? You've been here before.
Been here once before. It's the greatest. It's just so much fun, and just so you can see the excitement's just incredible. The level of anticipation with these 2 minutes, it's amazing.
Okay, I'm going to make you commit. One pick. One pick.
10 Most Wanted.
10 Most Wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell you my pick. Indian Express. You know, he battled Buddy Gil, the Santa Anita Derby, on only his 2nd start for Bob Baffert. I remember what he did with War Emblem last year. And plus a little sentimental reason, he's the first Utah-bred Derby horse. I'm from Utah. How could I not cheer on Indian Express? So I was glad to hear you put Indian Express in your...
That's my exact, I think.
Okay.
All right.
All right, good luck to you, okay?
Good luck to you.
Thank you for joining us. Chris?
All right, Charlene, thank you. Great job today. If you can combine some sound logic with the sentimental reason, that's a good Derby pick.
And throw Slash in there every now and then.
We got the Wise Guy horse, 10 Most Wanted. That seems to fit. He's got a lot of supporters. Let's see what Kurt Hoover thinks of back in the barn area.
Well, Chris, I've gone back and forth all week. I've bounced around between a couple of horses, and I finally came down to Buddy Gil and Indian Express, and I'm really going to lean towards Indian Express. I think he's going to get a very good trip up on the lead. Tyler Bays has come a long way as a rider in the past couple months. He's a very strong finisher, and I think tactically he's going to get a very good trip. So hopefully the Utah-bred Indian Express with Tyler Bays can make Bob Baffert a 4-time Kentucky Derby winner.
I'm going to go ahead and give you my pick now. I spent 9 days out here on the racetrack every morning on a pony. And the horse that impressed me the most in the morning training was 10 Most Wanted by far. The horse looks superb. He is coming into the race spectacular fashion. He's been training great, and he is definitely bred to get the distance. And in his last race, the Illinois Derby, he ran a good enough race, a fast enough race, according to the Beyer speed figures, to be very competitive in this spot. So I'm going to go with 10 Most Wanted only because I'm a little bit afraid of what we've been seeing out on the racetrack by Empire Maker in the morning. I think Empire Maker's the most talented, but time will tell on Saturday. How about you, Hank?
Well, I was a little bit afraid too and had an alternate betting strategy planned. But after seeing what Frankel's doing today, I'm sticking with Empire Maker. I'm going to box him with Indian Express and 10 Most Wanted. I'm also going to throw a couple of tries in with Peace Rules. The way Frankel's going, how can you leave out Peace Rules? And, of course, the Lucas factor with Scrimshaw.
All right, Hank, thank you. There is one vote for the favorite, at least the morning line favorite. We have to qualify it with Empire Maker. We're pretty sure he's going to be the favorite when the gate opens, and 2 votes for 10 Most Wanted and 2 for Indian Express. But the race before the Derby is the Woodford Reserve Turf. It's for 3-year-olds and up, mile and an eighth, $400,000 added purse. Runner-up last year with Anticipation. European breds, he's back, by the way. European breds have won the last 3, Randy.
I know it's hard to believe. The #1 Requette, owned by Judd Mott Farms, trained by Bobby Frankel, and Frankel won this race last year with Beat Hollow.
And 7-1 is a bargain price for Frankel.
Exactly. Look at Perfect Drift, the horse that finished 3rd in last year's Kentucky Derby. Perfect Drift is now a turf horse, or at least he's running in a 2nd consecutive grass race, but that's one of my favorite horses in training right now, the old man with Anticipation.
8 years old.
8 years old. The only problem is that he's not a fast starter. When he's been laid up and he's been on vacation in South Carolina, he doesn't tend to come back first time out and be all that strong. This was his last start, the Breeders' Cup Turf, and he is
October, right?
Yeah, in October. He's transferred his style totally. He used to be a front runner. Now he sits back and makes a run. As a matter of fact, this race last year was the first time they really tried that with him, and it worked. You see, he was 2nd in the Breeders' Cup there to High Chaparral, who's one of the best horses, if not the best turf horse in the world. Now, with Anticipation, though, the last 5 times he's come off a layoff, he's winless. He's 0 for 5 in his first start back.
That's not a good trend. Does have Pat Day aboard, who's won this event 3 times, but with Anticipation, when you got more wins than most of your rivals have starts, that's a severe experience edge, but will it matter off the long layoff? The Woodford Reserve just minutes away now.
This ESPN presentation of the Kentucky Derby Special is brought to you by Citgo. We know you. By Visa, proud sponsor of the Visa Triple Crown. By Plateau Herbicide from BASF. We make Bermuda grass hay better. By Diamond Cut Jeans. Try a pair. They just fit better. By Kawasaki All-Terrain and Utility Vehicles. Kawasaki, let the good times roll. And by the Bessemer Trust, enhancing private wealth for generations. Equibase.com, your official online source for racing information from entries to results and everything in between. Equibase.com is a service of Equibase Company, the thoroughbred industry's official database.
Strong field of turf horses headed for that starting gate, the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic. Reminder that you maybe don't want to watch the Derby coming up next on NBC. You can watch the Michelob Light Open. LPGA Golf is next here on ESPN. But next on the race card is the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic. The scratch of the 2 epicenter leaves us with an 8-horse field, and there's Louvre. Like that French pronunciation?
I called Christophe Clément, his trainer, this morning, and I can't make my mouth do what he did when he pronounced the horse's name. I'm not even sure. Anyway, the horse is coming off a good 2nd place finish in the fairgrounds, an explosive bid handicap, a weird race. 2 other horses in this race. Requette, Frankel's horse, and Century City were both in that race, and they finished 6th and 9th respectively, so it makes this horse look good with Jerry Bailey.
And Bailey chose him over Patrol. You got to go back 9 races to find that not 1st or 2nd for Louvre. Hank, what do you think?
With Anticipation, hasn't run since the Breeders' Cup back in October, but that horse is ready. I think he can dominate this field. Patrol, though, could be the lone speed in the race, and if you're looking for a bomb to put with him, Honor and War.
On Patrol, Velasquez again picking up a mount on a Mott horse that usually goes to Jerry Bailey. Interesting to see if he can get that. And of course, keep an eye. We mentioned quickly Perfect Drift, the Derby horse from a year ago. Janine, how do you see this?
Well, I've kind of got my eye on #1 Requette. That's Bobby Frankel's horse right there. As you said, Edgar Prado in the saddle. This horse is very lightly raced. He's a 4-year-old. He's only started 6 times, but he's won 3 races, and he was a little too close to the pace last time out in the explosive bid handicap, and he did lose his closing kick. This may not be his preferred distance. He's kind of rank when he runs. He needs to stay covered up, and I think that's the key to him today.
Requette is a horse that has been working in the morning with Empire Maker, and Empire Maker's been dominating him in workouts. We'll see if that breaks his confidence or anything in the race today.
Perfect Drift, again, the horse that ran 3rd in the Derby, the 3rd choice here at 5-1. Seems to like the turf. Shifted over to the turf and is 1 for 1.
They're not quite sure if they're going to make him a turf horse or just kind of go back and forth.
Really?
Certainly, it gives him more options.
Well, just about finished loading. Let's go to Luke Kripos for the call. Woodford Reserve Turf Classic.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Honor and War going up to the outside gate. I think I've got Rouvre down, kind of like the Louvre, but Honor and War all set. Set for the start from Roger Nagel. Off and running in the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic. Good even start. Rouvre to the front early. By Acta Patrol on the outside with anticipation. Broke well, but he's wrangled back now. Century City even the scorer on the far outside with Honor and War. And in behind that comes Perfect Drift. At the back of the pack, Riquette trails. Passing the stands, it's Patrol and Cornelio Velasquez. 3 parts of a length in front. Even the scorer and Shane Sellers off his flank to the outside, tracking second. Honor and War is 4 off the pace third. Rouvre rides the hedge in fourth by 5 more to Perfect Drift. Neck in front now, Century City on the outside, and the gray with anticipation. He's second last today under Pat Day, and a length in front of Riquette at the back of the pack as they